The Elder Scrolls Online's new feature and update preview stream took place yesterday. A plethora of content that we can expect in Update 40 was briefly showcased, and I would say that the player base's general reception of it was quite positive, and justifiably so. In this stream, the developers demonstrated some of the upcoming features that will debut in Update 40, which will roll out on October 30th for PC players and November 14th for those that play ESO on console. The stream consisted of a comprehensive dev preview and live gameplay session for ESO's new Systemically Endless Arena, an overview for the new all-in-one attunable stations, a brief explanation of the new jewelry crafting system rework, a sneak peek of the new highly requested group finder tool, and it concluded with an exciting first look at some upcoming in-game events. Oh shit, I know that basement YouTuber. If you missed the stream, no worries, you already know that I've got you covered. We'll be going over the stream highlights in this video, so feel free to use the timestamps to navigate to the parts of the stream that interest you the most. The PTS for Update 40 will also be live this Monday the 18th. So you can not only expect more in-depth content about these new features from me in the next few days, but you can also check out all of this new stuff for yourself on Monday by downloading the PTS. Without further ado, let's jump into the video. I remember when I was releasing my Necrom first look videos quite a few months ago, I got a handful of comments from people that were basically like,
Yeah, okay, the Arcanist looks cool and all, Apocrypha looks pretty neat I guess, but like, what the f is up with the all-in-one attunables, What are those, and when are we getting them?
I'm happy to announce that the wait is just about over. For the first time ever, concept art for the all-in-one attunables, dubbed Grandmaster Crafting Stations, were showcased on stream. The developers suggested that they were created to provide a solution to the crafting set problem that currently exists in the game. For those that don't know, there are roughly 70 craftable sets in the game at the time of recording this video. Each of these craftable sets requires 4 attunable station furnishings to be able to craft items from the entire set. 1 attunable clothing, blacksmithing, woodworking, and jewelry station. So as you can imagine, these attunable crafting stations would take up a lot of the allocated furnishing slots that are available for guild and crafting halls. This made it so that guild masters would have to ensure that they purchased large homes to be able to fit all of these stations in them, and there wasn't much room left for creative expression, what with all of these attunables taking up precious furnishing slots. This dilemma has effectively been resolved with the implementation of the Grandmaster Crafting Stations. The dev suggested that there will be 1 unique Grandmaster Crafting Station per crafting skill line. Players can then feed attunable stations into their GMC stations. Therefore, only 4 GMC crafting stations are required, instead of like 300 attunable ones. The GMC stations also upgrade themselves in a visual manner after certain thresholds of consumed stations are reached, in the sense that the stations start to quote-unquote fill out more, and there's even supposed to be a neat effect after all of these stations are collected to pay tribute to the impressive effort that it took to accomplish this feat. These GMC stations will be available to be purchased with RIP vouchers. As you may imagine, my community was wilding out a little bit when they heard about this change. The developers stated that when the jewelry crafting system was originally implemented, it was meant to serve as a system that mostly endgame players utilized. Now, the developers wish for this crafting skill to be way more accessible to players, so they've made some rather extensive changes to jewelry crafting to rebalance it such that it is more in line with the clothing, woodworking, and blacksmithing skill lines. Currently, you can refine dust to potentially receive grains, and once you obtain 10 grains, you can then turn them into a singular plating. This system will be replaced with a completely new one come Update 40, as grains will be removed altogether and there will only be platings from here on out. There will be a conversion process that occurs to keep in mind all of the players that have built up an inventory of grains and platings. Grains will be renamed to Ancient Grains, and existing platings will be renamed to Ancient Platings. When you log in, a grain will be converted to a plating at a 1-to-1 ratio. So, 10 grains would be converted into 10 platings. Platings will be converted at a 1-to-10 ratio. So if you had 1 plating before, you would have 10 platings in Update 40. Most players will not see this conversion. They'll be notified of it, but everything in your inventory or craft bag will be automatically converted. Grains and platings that are not in your inventory, but are in things like the guild bank or your mail, will appear as ancient grains and platings. but once they're looted, they will be automatically converted. Rich stated that if you have all of your perks put into improvements, it will cost 8 chromium platings to upgrade jewelry to gold, which is more in line with how the other upgrading systems work for the other crafting skill lines. The devs also stated that blue jewelry crafting writs would be removed from the game altogether. Praise Oriel, I hope I never have to see another one of those in my trading guild's guild bank ever again. I feel like one of the features that the player base has been requesting the most, besides the ability to receive more earnable rewards, is a reworked group finder tool. We asked, and we are finally receiving one. This new group finder tool will allow players to create or join listings for a variety of categories of content, such as trials, PvP, zone content, or even completely custom content, like ERP content. Hey, one of the devs said it, okay? Rich Lambert demonstrated the ability to create a listing, indicate which kind of trial the group leader would like to form a group for, select what difficulty it will be, and indicate the playstyle and additional criteria for joining the group, among other things. People can then apply to join the group, and the group leader will be able to accept invites. The devs also made a witty remark about how Craiglorn is going to be real quiet after this update drops. One of the devs on Twitter even suggested that Craiglorn traders are going to be experiencing a lot less foot traffic after these changes go live. What do you think about this sentiment? Evidently, a lot of players would AFK in Craiglorn with the intention of joining a trial pickup group, as these were often advertised in zone chat. If you were a Craiglorn AFKer, or perhaps even just a person that found themselves shopping at Craiglorn traders frequently enough, do you think that this is a valid assertion? If you're a Craiglorn Trading Guild GM, I'd be curious to hear about how you feel about this whole Craiglorn's gonna turn into a ghost town sentiment. The Endless Archive segment of this stream was rather extensive, as it is arguably going to be the highlight of the entire update. This systemically endless arena will be available to all ESO players that own the base game, and it can be completed solo, with a companion, or with a friend. Well, it can't technically be completed, you know what I'm trying to say. The story behind this endless PvE arena relates to the general Shadow over Morrowind narrative. You are tasked by Hermaeus Mora to enter the Endless Archive to track down a chaos-causing entity, a powerful Daedra by the name of Thoat Replicanum. She is spawning all kinds of monsters from every corner of Tamriel from these texts that Hermaeus Mora has collected, and you are tasked with defeating not only these monsters, but Thoat herself. Endless Archive consists of stages, cycles, and arcs. You start in stages and fight waves of monsters. After you complete 3 stages, you will encounter a boss fight, and after you defeat the boss, you end a cycle. After 5 entire cycles are completed, you will fight Thoat Replicanum. Upon defeating Thoat, you will be guaranteed a class set item, and you'll complete an arc. The monsters and bosses that you'll encounter are randomly pulled from all over Tamriel. There are over 60 bosses that you can fight, and they come from all sorts of different aspects of the game. You may encounter story bosses, public dungeon champions, world bosses, or even bosses from dungeons and trials. These bosses have had their abilities reworked to accommodate the fact that they are meant to be defeated by a group of 2, and not 4 or 12 in the case of dungeon and trial bosses, but their abilities will still be more or less thematically the same. There is no normal or veteran difficulty setting when it comes to the Endless Archive. Instead, the difficulty will ramp up in accordance with how far you progress through the archive. You may encounter fabled enemies that are meant to mimic the Bannermen from Trials, in the sense that they are more formidable iterations of themselves, and you'll definitely want to focus those enemies. Upon reaching Arc 2, you may also encounter Marauders, which are difficult to defeat, but they drop special loot, such as the new class sets. The Endless Archive also has a Verses and Visions buff system. After each stage, you'll have the choice of selecting a verse, a buff that applies to only yourself that will last for the entirety of a stage. After you defeat a cycle, aka a boss fight, you'll be able to select a vision, a stackable buff that persists for the entirety of your run. Occasionally, you may also encounter portals to the unknown, which will take you to an assortment of strange locations that contain different tasks. The only ones that we were able to see on the stream consisted of one that looked like it had some brief minigame and another one that had a quest giver in it. You get a set amount of lives for your adventure into the Endless Archive. These are called Threads of Fate. Once you run out of Threads of Fate, you will no longer be able to respawn, and your adventure into the chaotic realm of the Endless Archive will come to an end. There will be solo and dual leaderboards for this endless PvE arena. However, these leaderboards will not consider factors such as time and speed, unlike other arena leaderboards, in the hopes that they will be more accessible to players. So what kinds of rewards can be obtained from the Endless Archive? There's actually going to be a new currency that gets added to the game that is unique to the Endless Archive, called Archival Fortunes. You can receive Archival Fortunes from looting the chests that spawn after defeating bosses at the end of a cycle, and Thoat Replicanum at the end of an arc. These fortunes can be used to purchase an assortment of goodies from one of the vendors in the Endless Archive, such as unique furnishings, Telvar, gold, materials, tot deck fragments, permanent buffs that apply to your time in the Endless Archive, which the devs refer to as account unlocks, that play into the whole permanent progression aspect of a roguelike, and curated or uncurated class sets. So let's talk about class sets. These are unique sets that are curated to the class that you play. One of the design aspects of class sets is to focus on an individual skill line for that class and change up the gameplay for it. The Wrathsun Templar class set was shown on stream to demonstrate this concept. When the set is worn by a Templar and the player deals damage with a Dawn's Wrath ability, they gain a stack of sunlight for 10 seconds. Once 50 stacks are reached, the player's Dawn's Wrath abilities deal 25% bonus damage, and a Nova is dropped. At the launch of Endless Archive, there will be one unique class set for each class, but more sets are expected to be created in the future to accommodate all of the different skill lines. That's all I'll say about the Endless Archive for now, but I'm sure there's plenty more to say about the place that will soon be uncovered once the PTS goes live. The stream concluded with a brief overview of some upcoming in-game events. The first one that we can expect is called The Secrets of the Telvanni. It follows the typical zone celebration event model, where players will be encouraged to participate in overland content, in this case overland content in the Telvanni Peninsula and Apocrypha, such as defeating world bosses, world events, delve bosses, looting, questing, and more to receive event goodies and event tickets. The celebration event is also going to consist of an old reward model that we haven't seen since Greymoor, I believe. There will be a special daily event quest that players will be challenged to complete. The more players complete this quest, the more this challenge meter will be filled. Once this meter reaches 33%, all players that own the Necrom chapter and have completed this quest will receive this cute ebony scarab pet. At 66%, players will receive these sweet nightmare nest markings, and at 100%, players will receive the Kelison rune home. Finally! It's been so long since we've been able to earn a home by participating in this kind of celebration event, and I'm really eager to collect it. October's annual Witches' Festival was briefly mentioned. Gina stated that they're going to begin decorating towns to get Tamriel's citizens into the holiday spirit, and these screenshots were shown on stream to demonstrate what she meant. Huh. Wait a minute, that's funny. These pics look kind of familiar for some reason. I can't quite put my finger on it. There will be a Gates of Oblivion celebration in November, and of course, the New Life Festival in December. Alright, that about concludes everything that was shown on stream. What are you most excited for in Update 40? I'm really excited about the prospect of only needing to dedicate 4 furnishing slots to these new Grandmaster crafting stations. It'll make the possibility of owning and accessing all of the attunable crafting stations from my fully decorated home a reality. I'm also eager to give the new LFG tool a shot. I find that it can be a little tricky to find daily world boss quest farming groups these days, whereas they were super popular when I first started playing ESO quite a few years ago. Hopefully, this tool will make it easier to find a group of players who are interested in sharing quests and farming motifs, furnishing plans, and style mats by completing world boss and world event quests. And of course, I am super excited for the new Endless Archive content. I think I'll have a lot of fun in there with friends, and I'm excited to get my hands on some of the new rewards, including the class sets. But that concludes this video. Thank you all for watching this stream recap, and thank you to my YouTube members for the additional support. I'll see you gamers in the next video. Cheers.